Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. It's taken from Canto 3, Chapter 1, and this morning we're doing text 13. And we're very fortunate to have Her Grace Anandarapa Mataji from ISKCON DC to give a class. Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. Okay. And please unmute yourself, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
It's all yours.
Let's start with Jai Radha Madhava prayers. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari, Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana, Jamuna Tira Vanachari, Jamuna Tira Vanachari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Jai Om Vishnupad Parahans Parivrajakacharya Ashtotar Shat Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedant Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Parahans Parivrajakacharya Ashtotar Shat Srimad His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
नामाचार्य श्रीला हरिदास ठाकुर की जय.
Jai.
प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्णा चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय.
Jai.
श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय.
Jai.
वृंदावन धाम की जय. माया
जय.
धाम की जय. जगन्नाथ धाम की जय. गंगा माई की जय. यमुना माई की जय. भक्तिमयी तुलसी देवी की जय. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय. All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Shrotam Svakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridayantasto He Bhadrani Vidhunoti Srahatsatam Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavad Sevaya Bhagavate Ruttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. So today we are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 1, verse number 13. Sa esha dosha puruṣa-dviḍ āste gṛhān praviṣṭo apatya-matyā puṣṇāsi kṛṣṇād vimukho gata-śrīs tyajāśv aśaivaṁ kula-kauśalāya sa esha dosha puruṣa-dviḍ āste gṛhān praviṣṭo yam apatya-matyā puṣṇāsi kṛṣṇād vimukho gata-śrīs tyajāśv aśaivaṁ kula-kauśalāya sa esha doṣaḥ puruṣa-dviḍ gṛhān praviṣṭo yam apatya-matyā puṣṇāsi kṛṣṇād vimukho gata-śrīs tyajāśv aśaivaṁ tyajāśv kula-kauśalāya.
Hare Krishna. Sa doṣa puruṣa-dviḍ gṛhān praviṣṭo apatya-matyā puṣṇāsi kṛṣṇād vimukho gata-śrīs tyajāśv aśaivaṁ kula-kauśalāya. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Sa esha doṣaḥ puruṣa-dviḍ āste gṛhān praviṣṭo yam apatya-matyā puṣṇāsi kṛṣṇād vimukho gata-śrīs tyajāśv kula-kauśalāya. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Sa esha doṣaḥ puruṣa-dviḍ āste gṛhān praviṣṭo yam apatya-matyā puṣṇāsi kṛṣṇād vimukho gata-śrīs tyajāśv aśaivaṁ kula-kauśalāya. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. All right, we'll do the synonyms now. Sa, he, esha, this, dosha, offense personified, puruṣa-dviḍ, envious of Lord Kṛṣṇa, āste, exist, gṛhān, household, praviṣṭa, entered, yam, whom, apatya-matyā, thinking to be your son, puṣṇāsi, maintaining, kṛṣṇād, from Kṛṣṇa, vimukho, in opposition, gata-śrīs, devoid of everything auspicious, tyaja, give up, ashu, as soon as possible, aśaivaṁ, inauspicious, kula, family, kauśalāya, for the sake of. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Okay.
You are maintaining offense personified, Duryodhana. Oh, you are maintaining offense personified, Duryodhana, as your infallible son, but he is envious of Lord Kṛṣṇa. And because you are thus maintaining a devotee of Kṛṣṇa, you are devoid of all inauspicious qualities. And because you are thus maintaining a non-devotee of Kṛṣṇa, you are devoid of all auspicious qualities. Relieve yourself of this ill fortune as soon as possible and do good to the whole family. Purport, Jai Srila Prabhupada. A good son is called apatya, one who does not follow his father to fall down. The son can protect the father's soul when the father is dead by offering sacrifices to please the Supreme Lord Vishnu. This system is still prevalent in India. After the death of his father, a son goes to offer sacrifices at the lotus feet of Vishnu at Gaya and thus delivers the father's soul if the father is fallen. But if the son is already an enemy of Vishnu, how in such an inimical mood can he offer sacrifice unto Lord Vishnu's lotus feet? Lord Kṛṣṇa is directly the personality of Godhead. Vishnu and Duryodhana was inimical to him. He would therefore be unable to protect his father Dhritarashtra after his death. He himself was to fall down because of his faithlessness towards Vishnu. How then could he protect his father? Vidur advised Dhritarashtra to get rid of such an unworthy son as Duryodhana as soon as possible if he was at all anxious to see the good of his family. According to the moral instructions of Chanakya Pandit, what is the use of a son who is neither a learned man nor a devotee of the Lord? If a son is not the devotee of the Supreme Lord, he is just like blind eyes, a source of trouble. A physician may sometimes advise the extrication of such useless eyes from their sockets so that one can be relieved of the constant trouble. Duryodhana was exactly like blind, troubling eyes. He would be a source of great trouble to the family of Dhritarashtra, as foreseen by Vidur. Vidur therefore rightly advised his eldest brother to get rid of this source of trouble. Dhritarashtra was wrongly maintaining such personified offense under the mistaken impression that Duryodhana was a good son, able to liberate his father. Let's offer Guru Pranati. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Te Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschate Deshatarine Om Ajnanate Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripa tadaham vande Shri Gurum Dīnataranam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namah. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Guru Vrinda ki jai. Thank you everyone for this opportunity today. We are all doing Shravan and Kirtan from Srimad Bhagavatam. This is our great fortune to be able to do it. We could be easily doing something else in this time. So, in previous canto, very quick recap. Many of you regularly join this beautiful Srimad Bhagavatam session every day, but for those who join with gaps, so in Canto 2 of Srimad Bhagavatam, we learned Srimad Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. And what are these questions? The questions about life, about dharma, about purpose of life, about the divine purpose that finds its solution here. Now, Canto 2 also talks about Vidur's meeting with Maitreya Rishi, Sage Rishi, which is set in the context of questions of King Parikshit to... Who is King Parikshit asking all the questions? Anyone, please speak up. Hare Krishna.
Shukdev Goswami.
Shukdev Goswami, very good. So now, this meeting highlights, this chapter is titled Questions of the Vidur, and he's meeting Sage Maitreya, and this meeting highlights how a sincere seeker should turn to a realized personality to understand deeper truths of life. Now, what happens in this Canto 3, as we are reading, after seeing the cosmic vision and understanding the divine principles, which we have read in Canto 2, Vidur is now asking Maitreya more about human affairs, different qualities, virtues, Lord's intimate guidance to the Pandavas' household. And this shows how the universal truths from Canto 2 are reflected in our everyday lives, and how even disturbances, adversities, challenges, they can become opportunities for growth. So in this chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, Vidur is still in the palace speaking to Dhritarashtra in these last few verses. You know, the chapter started with Vidur asking questions to Maitreya when he's on pilgrimage. But then, few verses onwards, there is a now conversation. Vidur is still, before he left for pilgrimage, the background is being narrated. So he's speaking to Dhritarashtra before leaving for pilgrimage. So Vidur sees Dhritarashtra's deep attachment to his unqualified sons. Who is the most unqualified son being talked about here? Hare Krishna? Anyone? It was mentioned in Duryodhana. Yes. So out of genuine compassion, Vidur speaks strong, truth-filled instructions. And this verse is talking about what or who is a real son. However, as we will see in the course of this narration, or many of us already know from our background with Mahabharata, that Dhritarashtra does not accept this advice. So soon after these exchanges, Vidur is insulted and he leaves the palace, beginning his pilgrimage. So this is a final sincere attempt by Vidur to awaken Dhritarashtra before walking away from the material attachments and injustice. So as we will see and we should reflect on, this adds an emotional depth. Vidur is not just speaking philosophy. He's trying to save his family spiritually. So there is a setting for this chapter and there is a setting for the verse. So Vidur, we know he's wise, he's righteous uncle in the Kuru dynasty, while Dhritarashtra was the blind king. The character Dhritarashtra, he's so deeply attached to his sons, especially Duryodhana, and actually earlier I was discussing with my husband, Duryodhana was initially named as Suryodhana. Su. When you prefix su before anything, it becomes very auspicious, righteous. Duryodhana, dur prefix is just the opposite, like with bad intentions or something, implying bad or inauspicious. So how did he come? How did it happen? He came to be called Duryodhana because of his lifestyle, because of his attitude and his consciousness. He was looking for selfish motives in everything. He was very self-centered. And so people calling him Duryodhana. And despite knowing what was right, Dhritarashtra repeatedly supported his sons. Their unjust actions against the Pandavas. And why did Dhritarashtra do that? We will talk about it. Please pay attention to the content of this class. It's a short 30-minute class, and but we will be in a position to talk about that, hopefully, towards the end. Why Dhritarashtra was spiritually, he was blind as such, physically, but spiritually also he was blind. And what were his insecurities? Why did he do that? Why did he behave the way he did? So Vidur, being a true well-wisher, strongly advised him to correct this. But his words were rejected. And in fact, Vidur was insulted and asked to leave the palace. So, and then Vidur makes a choice. He chooses dignity and spiritual growth, as we learned in the principles of surrender, right? The first two principles of surrender are making Krishna conscious choices and rejecting everything which is not favorable for Krishna consciousness or spiritual growth. So Vidur chooses dignity and spiritual growth over attachments and lavish life and opulences in conflict, everything. He leaves everything that is not favorable for his spiritual growth. And he leaves home and begins his pilgrimage in search of higher truth. And it is in this setting that he is on pilgrimage that he meets Maitreya and presents his deep and honest inquiries. Okay, so this is the setting, this is the background. So now, in this verse, Vidur is kind of warning. We are learning, we are seeing how Dhritarashtra's blindness is being highlighted. And also, as I was preparing for this talk, I realized this is how this verse highlights the last couple of verses. This verse, they highlight the Kali consciousness, how an importance of transcending from Kali consciousness to Krishna consciousness right in our homes. We don't have to even look outside. So now, Dhritarashtra is not an evil man. He is a conflicted man. He knows what is right, but he cannot act on it. He knows that Pandavas are rightful, that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, that injustice has been done, yet he cannot detach from his son. So the whole philosophy we read in Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, some of the main topics are around attachment, lust, attachment, and then how fall down happens. So now that is why Vidur speaks with such urgency, the words he speaks, that you are maintaining offense personified, thinking him to be your son, but he is inimical to Krishna. And because of this, you have lost all your auspiciousness. And so give this up immediately for your good and for the good of your entire family. And we are also, of course, we are going to talk about practically in our real life, that is the situation where we feel our loved ones might be an impediment for our spiritual practices. Is that what we are supposed to do? We are supposed to leave them and go on a pilgrimage, or what are we supposed to do? So different pastimes, different chapters, we have to see Prabhupada's messages for us in context. Okay, so now Vidur is not talking, he's not speaking about family management. He's identifying a fundamental mistake, mistaking the attachment for affection, mistaking protection for maintenance, mistaking relationship for qualification. Dhritarashtra thought, this is my son, I must support him. And what does Vidur say? If he's reporting about spiritual survival. Now, this is a very difficult truth actually, because it challenges one of the strongest forces in human life, attachment to mindness. So now let's take a look quickly with some references. Who is an ideal son, or what is a real son? How does Prabhupada explain it? This purport explains this very beautifully. A true son is called apatya, one who protects the father from spiritual downfall, not one who simply continues family line. Okay, not one who brings material success, but one who connects the father to Supreme Lord Vishnu, especially when at the time of death. Now, Vidur asks a wonderful, devastating question actually, implicitly. What is that question? Anyone? What is Vidur's question here? Take a quick look and somebody speak up. What is Vidur's question here? He asked Dhritarashtra a question within this verse we are reading. So he is asking, if your son is inimical to Krishna, how can he protect you? If he cannot protect himself, how will he protect you? So this breaks a very deep illusion for all of us. We often believe my family will save me, my children will support me, my relationships will secure me. But what are we reading in Shastras, in the scriptures? Only connection to Krishna gives real protection. So now Vidur is saying kṛṣṇād vimukho gata-śrīs, meaning which it says, because you have turned away from Krishna, you have lost all auspiciousness. Now, this is very important. We should try to understand this. This is a critical point. A person may appear wealthy, stable, socially respected, right? A good job, a beautiful wife, enough money invested in properties and trading and whatnot. Yet, from Shastra perspective, it could be inauspicious. Why? Because the root connection is broken. If the connection to Supreme Lord is broken, everything is still inauspicious. It's considered inauspicious. Just like a tree may look green for some time after being cut from the roots, but internally what's happening? It's already drying up. So Dhritarashtra's life is explained. It is exactly like that. Externally, looks like he has opulence of a king, but internally he is disconnected due to why here it's mentioned internally it's disconnected from Supreme Lord due to his attachment to a non-devotee son. So let's talk about blindness of Dhritarashtra. Okay, he is in refusal in spite of knowing. He knew Duryodhana's nature. He saw the injustice. He heard Krishna's presence and authority. He even heard Vidur's instructions, and yet what's his state? He could not let go. And that is where this verse becomes deeply personal, because this is not just Dhritarashtra. This is all of us in situations where we get the knowledge, we get the warnings, yet we are in denial to let go of things or behaviors which are not auspicious, which turn us away from Krishna. So every person has something they know is not right. It could be a habit, it could be a relationship, it could be a pattern, it could be a mindset. And that is something which disturbs clarity, weakens discipline, makes us lose our motivation or taste in spiritual practices. It may distance us from higher thinking, and yet we maintain it. Or we are in mixed modes. Sometimes we maintain it, sometimes we become steady, but then we justify, our mind rationalizes, and we protect it. Why? Why does that happen? Why do we behave like that? Because of this mindset of this is mine. So there are two things. One could operate on platform of ego. One could be misidentifying I, me, mine. What is in it for me? And then, so that is where exactly Vidur is speaking. He is not asking Dhritarashtra to give up a son emotionally. He is asking him to give up the blind attachment that blocks the truth, the blind attachment that binds him, that makes him lusty towards because of this anartha, and then keeping him in this state of fallen state. So Duryodhana is not just a historical personality. Duryodhana actually, just like, when we, during Dashara or, around other festivals, we specially pick up Acharya's teachings and learn how we should give up Ravan mentality, Ravan consciousness, the golden deer which appeared in Ramayana, which lures and attracts Sita. And so she wants that deer. So here also Duryodhana represents a consciousness. It is a force which is opposed to Krishna. And what is it driven by? It is driven by envy. And it is sustained by attachment and destructive to religious principles. And the same consciousness appears later as Kali, the presiding force of this age. So those of you who remember reading from beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, in first canto, Maharaj Parikshit, it's described that Maharaj Parikshit encounters Kali and restricts him. That is given in, I believe, chapter 17, around verse 38. Kali is allowed to reside in 4 places: gambling, intoxication, illicit relations, and animal slaughter. And then further in gold, where there is greed, falsity, envy, conflict. That is where gold is allowed. And so now we can clearly see the connection. Vidur warned Dhritarashtra, that the wisdom he is giving to Dhritarashtra, it has now expanded into this entire age. Duryodhana was one individual, but Kali is systemic Duryodhana consciousness. And Dhritarashtra maintained Duryodhana where? In his home. So today, Kali is maintained in every home where the 4 principles are allowed, I mentioned earlier. So now, for us, this invaluable lesson from this chapter becomes unavoidable. We are not just mere observers, we are the participants. The real question is, let us reflect on where is Kali living in my life? Not just philosophically, let's talk about practically. So, in my lifestyle, is there any indulgence that weakens my spiritual practice, my sadhana? Are there habits that put me in confusion or doubt my clarity? They cloud my clarity. Are there actions that reduce my ability to be kind or to be compassionate? Are there tendencies that distort the truth? Then that is a straight actually answer to our questions that yes, Kali is present in this kind of behavior or lifestyle. And just like Dhritarashtra, we may know it, but we may still maintain it. So we read in Srimad Bhagavatam that when Kali enters, 4 principles collapse. What are those 4 principles? They have to do with tapasya, self-discipline, shaucham, cleanliness, daya, compassion, and satya, truthfulness. And when these collapse, what happens? What is the result? What do you think is the result when these 4 pillars collapse? The mind becomes restless, uncontrolled mind. We read the almost whole of Bhagavad Gita about it. We read, we learn, we experience how then relationships, they become weak. The clarity disappears and there is more and more dissatisfaction. Everyone wants to be happy, but they're dissatisfied. So this is not just theoretical. This is from practical life, the reality which we observe. So if we understand Vidur, like based on Srila Prabhupada's purports, when he says, Tyaja do, it means give it up immediately. He's not being protest anything that disconnects us from Krishna, anything that weakens our practices, anything that causes confusion or clouds our clarity will eventually destroy the peace. So then what should we do? Question is, what should we do then? Then we should become like Parikshit Maharaj. He did not eliminate Kali from the world. But what did he do? He restricted his residence. So we must then find out in our own life, what is it we need to do to manage that, to transcend from Kali consciousness to Krishna consciousness. We may not be able to change society immediately, but we can protect our mind, our habits, our home, our connections, our associations, our friendships, who we associate with. And this is actually living a Krishna conscious life. Even we constantly talk about gardening of our spiritual life, So we have to protect it from the weeds. We have to protect it from the mad elephants. For what does it translate to the devotees? Is devotees have to protect themselves from aparads. So what all different aparads are there? There is seva aparad, there is nam aparad, there is Vaishnava aparad. So now here Vidur warned Dhritarashtra, remove Duryodhana, and similarly Parikshit restricted Kali. And so these are the same principles we need to figure out how do we apply in our life for spiritual advancement. The responsibility is on us. So Dhritarashtra, he lost everything, not because he lacked knowledge, but because he could not let go. So this brings us to the area of decision making. So it is a big danger if we cannot, a big thing in our life actually, if we are poor in decision making. See, Bhagavad Gita helps us understand how to do proper time management, mind management, anger management. So there is danger management also. So there is danger in every life, for everyone. But if we can't let go, how are we going to manage that? If we are not going to let go of our fears, if we are not going to take proper choices and decisions, then literally there is danger at every step. So let us not maintain what is destroying our clarity. Let us not protect those things or behaviors or practices which distances us from Krishna. And then let us not justify. Let us not justify or rationalize it. So now, let us reflect on how do we remove Duryodhana consciousness from our heart? How do we restrict Kali from our life? How can we allow Krishna to take the rightful place? Okay. And I wanted to give some examples. There are some examples. For example, let's look at some instances from Ramayana where similar pattern happened. So Bharat wanted to meet Ram after Ram left, Ram, Sita, and Lakshman. And when he was coming, Lakshman doubted his intentions. That was a Vaishnava aparad. And because of that, later on, when the golden deer, Sita saw the golden deer, and she asked for the deer, and Ram left, asking Lakshman to take care of Sita. And Sita asked, hearing the cry of Ram, Sita asked Lakshman to go check on Ram, and Lakshman wouldn't go. Then Sita doubted Lakshman's intentions. Okay, so it is explained nicely by Vaishnavacharyas how initially Lakshman, when doubted Bharat's intention, because of that he had to suffer the doubts from Sita. And similarly, Sita, because she doubted Lakshman, that was a Vaishnava aparad too, and so she had to suffer, living in the Vatika for a year away from Ram. So now there are more examples. When Ram and Lakshman, they met Sugriv, Sugriv offered respects to only Ram and not Lakshman, thinking he is a servant. And however, Hanuman observed that. So Hanuman got a branch of a tree and respectfully offered it to Lakshman. Ram quietly observed that and he didn't say anything. But later on, when Vali and Sugriv, they had a fight, Ram initially did not come to protect Sugriv because he wanted him to learn a lesson because of Vaishnava Prad. And later on, when Sugriv paid obeisances to Lakshman, when Lakshman garlanded him, that's when he, expressed with humility, he respected the Vaishnava and things were taken care of. So there will be times we maintain a certain aparads or anarthas and we justify it and we protect it. And it may feel like, that some feeling of mindness may be there, feeling of ego might be there. And so that's where we have to learn. Do not maintain what is destroying your clarity. Do not protect what distances you from Krishna. Okay. And so there are some other examples. If I would like to welcome you all in this talk, if you can think of any other instances from Srimad Bhagavatam or Ramayana or Mahabharata, at least one I want to hear from one of you, where you can easily relate to this, that, when Vidur says, give it up immediately, where some personalities are harboring some kind of aparad, they are demonstrating in their behavior, yet the Vaishnava on the other side is very forgiving, and then the personality learns its lessons. But the message for us is we have to give up such tendencies or such association immediately. And this is to manage, this is to support the 4 pillars I talked about, and so that we can have more clarity and proper direction. So let's talk about Ambarish Maharaj. Okay, so Durvasa Muni, sage Durvasa, he came after him, right? We are aware of that. And Ambarish Maharaj didn't take offense. However, Krishna came after sage Durvasa. And then we have example of Daksh. So Daksh, who is son of Brahma, he became envious of Shiva and did Vaishnava Aparad. He committed aparads against associates of Shiva also, other Vaishnavas also, and he was punished for that. Then I talked about Bharat and Lakshman. I talked about Sita and Lakshman. And so, we can commit aparads not necessarily by doing something drastic. It could be in our even thoughts or simple gestures. So one should be careful of that. Now, there is a reference of Ramchandra Khan in Chaitanya Charitamrita. He committed aparad to defame Haridas Thakur because he was envious of Haridas Thakur. He sent a prostitute. And Haridas Thakur was from the same area and he was a respected Vaishnava. However, due to mercy of Haridas Thakur, the prostitute was transformed to a great Vaishnavi and gave up illicit profession. And then Ramchandra Khan, he later, because of this offense, he further offended Nityananda Prabhu as well. What was the result? His entire family and village were tormented by government officials later on. Let us talk about real life, not just scriptures. Let's talk about our practical real life situations. Sometimes devotees may feel, why don't I have that same taste for chanting or attraction to deity worship anymore? So one should introspect and find if we have committed any Vaishnava aparad and then rectify that instead of clinging or holding on to this mindset of this is my service, this is, I, me, mine attitude, or what is in it for me, self-centeredness. So all these pastimes, they give us analysis of Vaishnava aparads, what it can result in, how it can distance us away from Krishna. And then Let's talk about the recommended approach. We see the example of Vidur, who is detached. And the lesson from the Vidur's life is, he, after all this happens and he is humiliated by Duryodhana, he goes on a pilgrimage seeking answers to the higher truths of life. He was not attached to the kingdom. So, a lesson from these pastimes is our lust, our attachments, our ego, everything, anarthas, we call them anarthas. We should accept our shortcomings, our anarthas, and then we should, with steadiness and humility, we should apply spiritual practices. Where needed, we can ask for forgiveness humbly, and where needed, we should become more surrendered and apply the wisdom. So now, Duryodhana is not just a historical personality. I mentioned before, he represents a consciousness, a force opposed to Krishna. He is driven by envy. Prabhupada explains he's sustained by attachment and destructive to dharma. So this same consciousness appears as Kali. So in Kali age, what is the recommended solution then? We read in Srimad Bhagavatam that Hare Krishna Mahamantra chanting of the holy names. There is no other way, no other way, no other way. However, because of the Kali age distractions, sometimes devotees, even very senior devotees, find it difficult to constantly chant the holy names, though that is the recommended solution. So then they are inclined to introspect. They are inclined to introspect how they can improve, how they can let go, how they can internalize. And in this way, when we read these beautiful verses from Srimad Bhagavatam, they give us the wisdom that let us take spiritual life more sincerely and steadily. Our spiritual practices, let us protect it from aparadhs so that we can develop stronger faith, astha, nishtha, ruchi, and we can journey from Kali consciousness to Krishna consciousness. And right now it is guided by the wisdom of Vidur. Hare Krishna. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Bhagavad ki jai, Anant Koti Vaishnava. Hare Krishna. If anybody has any comments or questions, you are welcome.
Thank you very much, Mataji, for giving a very nice class with so many references, Srimad Bhagavatam, Ramayana, and so on, to make points about, we have to be careful about aparadh. We commit aparadhs, we're not going home. Bottom line. So unless we ask for forgiveness and serve the devotee that we've offended, so anyway, we have to thank you for reminding us. This is a very wonderful journey that we're on back to Godhead, but we have to be careful about the pitfalls. That's no question about it. Okay. So dear devotees, as Mataji said, you have any questions, please unmute yourself and go for it. You have any comments that you want to make, you can do so also. Any things that you heard that really, really struck, in your mind, just to take home, you can mention that, so we can also kind of have that added to our consciousness for emphasis. So any questions or comments? Anyone?
If no one has questions, I have a quick question. So what does Nectar of Instruction talk about how we can improve on our tendencies to be self-centered, or, if we feel we are not developing taste or we are losing taste, how can we reflect back what's happening? How can we examine our tendencies? What are the principles from Nectar of Instruction? And this is very important. We keep talking about it constantly, actually. Every few classes we talk about it. Some of you may already know it, but if you can't remember right now, that's okay. We can always revisit it. I thought it was very relevant to this class, and I just realized I meant to bring it up, but I forgot. So, anyone remembers? What is it about? Yes, Niru Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Mataji, is it Trinadapi Sunichen, being more humble and tolerant?
Not exactly. I mean, this principle of being respectful and humble definitely applies and helps. However, the exact principle is okay. There is a question. We'll come to it on the chat. Someone posted a question.
Okay.
But the two principles I'm talking about are in Nectar of Instruction, text number 2 and 3. Okay. So the second verse says that once devotional service is spoiled, because here you see how Dhritarashtra is spiritually blind. Devotional service being spoiled also implies that. Okay. And so when one becomes too entangled in 6 activities, and what are they? What are those 6 activities? Atyahara prayashascha prajalpo niyamagraha janna sangascha lolyamcha shadvir bhakti vinashyati. So overeating, over-endeavoring for mundane things, okay? And talking prajalpa, unnecessary talking, practicing scriptural rules and regulations for just sake of following them and not for spiritual advancement. And then associating with worldly minded people who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. In this case, it's attachment to Duryodhana, and being greedy for mundane achievements, name, fame, lusting, And what does Bhagavad Gita say about lust? How does the fall down happen with the lust? It's explained in chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, right? It's explained that while contemplating on the object of senses, a person develops attachment for them, and from such attachment, lust develops. And from lust, anger arises. So senses, so not only attachment, the senses also. And then what happens? When one lust and anger happens, then what happens? From anger, complete delusion arises. Okay, so then you are lost, you are confused. And then from delusion, bewilderment of memory. And when memory is bewildered, you think you can make right choices and decisions. Intelligence is lost. And when intelligence is lost, one falls down again to material pool. What does that mean? One stays attached, helpless, and that is Dhritarashtra's state. He's spiritually not only physically blind, but spiritually blind too. And we don't want to be in that state. So these are some good references we should remember. Nectar of Instruction, I mentioned one verse, text number 2, and the text number 3 talks about what helps. Okay. And so उत्साह निश्चयात धैर्यात तत्त कर्म प्रवर्तनात् संग त्यागात सतो वृत्ति षद्भिर भक्ति प्रसिद्ध्यति. प्रसिद्ध्यति मतलब becomes successful, advances or becomes successful. What are the 6 principles favorable? Being enthusiastic, endeavoring with confidence, being patient, acting according to regulative principles. Like what are those? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. And then abandoning the association of non-devotees and following in the footsteps of previous acharyas. Now, sometimes devotees raise a deep concern after listening to these verses. They are like, so abandoning, so our loved ones who are not inclined to believe in Krishna, should we tell them to get out, or we leave them, we go away to an ashram? So every situation is different. And like we further learned from Srila Prabhupada through his life and through his purports and teachings, He made so many devotees from those who were atheists, who were not favorably inclined to Krishna or to listen about Krishna. So how did they become devotees? So he mentored them. He carefully shared Krishna consciousness with them. He shared prasadam with them. So you have, every person is different. So you have to see in what way you can exercise the compassion of sharing Krishna consciousness with them. Okay. So now, so let's see the question we have.
That's from Soma Mataji. He said on the basis of Prabhupada. She wants to know, she wants to comment more about nama parad, giving with examples too. That's his request. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So that in itself is a whole class, but I will speak something to the degree that many of you already know about the nama parads, 10 offenses to the holy names. But the main idea around that is, see, when we engage in chanting the holy names or any devotional service, there are stages. You know, the stages in which one progresses to the advanced state. So initially, when we are chanting, the recommendation is we should make an effort to not be distracted, to hear what we are chanting ourselves. So that will actually bring some focus. And then we should try to chant correctly. So these are some basic guidelines for chanting. But even after knowing, if someone doesn't make enough efforts, they are making offenses. And then what happens if you make offenses or you don't do, if you're cooking, if you don't cook the recipe properly, the end result will not be what you're expecting, right? So we are chanting the holy names here. You're inviting the most important, the person in the whole creation, personality, supreme personality of Godhead, but you are chanting with some other agenda, and there is a list of agendas mentioned. And so what happens? We'll not get the desired result of pleasing the Supreme Lord. So now there are stages in this practice of chanting. There will be Nam Aparad stage, and then there will be Nama Bhas stage in which your offenses are clearing, and there is then Shuddha Nam stage where one will chant without offenses and they will get the desired result, which is the love of Godhead, which is the pure devotional service of Supreme Lord. In all different ways it is said. So a sincere and steady sadhak or a spiritual practitioner, you know, just like in whatever thing we are trying to pursue in our life, there are do's and don'ts. We have to take care of both things. Similarly, for a spiritual practitioner, there are do's which help us for spiritual advancement, and there are don'ts which pull us down or which make our results ineffective, our practices ineffective to achieve the desired result. Earlier, I mentioned Seva Aparad, Vaishnava Aparad, Nama Aparad. Seva Aparads are committed during discharge of devotional service, some Aparad. Aparad means against Radharani, Aparad. So, Radharani is devotional service personified, and we are not pleasing her. We are doing something in full knowledge, which then there are protocols, there are rules here. What are the regulative principles of executing devotional service described in Nectar of Devotion? So long story short, if we apply the rules of devotionals, regulative principles of devotional service, success is guaranteed. If we apply the principles of surrender, success is guaranteed. If we apply the principles outlined by Srila Rupa Goswami for spiritual advancement steadily, and as it is, the wisdom has been conveyed, we will make progress. So the whole idea behind Nama Aparad is offenses against the holy names. Seva Aparad is offenses against the services we do. And Vaishnava Aparad, I mentioned in elaborate, they are the offenses against the devotee of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Hari Bol.
Thank you very much. Hopefully, someone that answers your question, even in a broad way. So this is very, very, very nice. Hare Krishna. Hopefully, I don't know. Any other questions? We're at the top of the hour. Any final questions or comments? If not, then thank you very much, Matthew. Your classes are very inspiring, and it's also Hare Krishna. So very, very inspiring, and it's also thought-provoking, and definitely we learn a lot. So this is the Kadashi today, by the way. We fast from grain. So if you want to do even a faster that's more intense, you certainly can do, because you get more credits that way. Hare Krishna. So have a wonderful beginning of your week. The Kadashi, the blessings that come from that, please observe it. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhasya kripa sindhave evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Buddhi. Thank you, Mati. Hare
Thank you. Hare Krishna, everyone. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.